Hi, we're back with part two on gluten, and we're going to talk a little bit about how it affects your gut, which everyone thinks is the primary concern, but more importantly, how it affects your brain. So gluten itself, as I mentioned before, comes from the word glue and has a very sticky nature, and so it aborts normal digestion. And as a result, when you have poor digestion, your food doesn't break down into components that your immune system recognizes, and you often have an attack of the very food you're eating by your immune system, resulting in increased inflammation by the production of what we call killer cells and cytokinins, all of which create this war causing inflammation and hence pain, along with tissue damage and ultimately the poor absorption I referenced, causing at the end point, at the end of the day, pain and slow recovery. So where does gluten live? Well, it lives in all the things you and I think of when we go to the grocery store. Sadly, it's in the pizza. Um, not that pizza doesn't have other things bad in it as well. Although you can get gluten-free pizza, but it's French fries because they're dusted in wheat flour, bagels and bread and muffins and pancakes and waffles and scones and chips and crackers and cereal and cake and cookies and pastries and cinnamon rolls and pasta. That's where the world of gluten lives. But the good news is a lot of these things can be substituted for gluten-free products. We'll talk about that. So gluten's effect on the gut. What gluten actually does to your gut, to your colon, your small intestine, is it causes an increase in COX-2 enzymes. And that promotes what we refer to as the inflammatory cascade, where inflammation kind of gets out of control. So our American solution often is to take non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, which really are COX-2 inhibitors, which says, oh my goodness, we can get rid of that inflammation, but wouldn't it be wiser not to set the fire in the first place and stop eating the gluten? Seems to me that would be better. Why? Because the non-steroidals have a very negative impact on our stomach, on our liver, and our kidney. And there are thousands of people that die in this country every year from regular use of ibuprofen, and you might find that surprising. So it is a spectrum. You say, well, I don't have celiac disease. That's the autoimmune disease where you have a horrible reaction to gluten. But there's a spectrum from gluten sensitivity to celiac disease, and we're finding that more and more of us live in that world of gluten sensitivity because of the hybridization and the bioengineering. And it influences all of our organs. What you see here is an MRI of the brain of somebody with celiac disease, and the whitened component is not normal. Those are plaquing phenomena that happen from the gluten and the antibiotic reaction. We'll talk about that in a moment. So while some of you may have gluten challenges in the gut with inflammation and pain, what the latest researchers are saying is that it has a huge influence on all of us in our brain. We'll talk about that. This is a little bit of information that's a bit sobering, but recent data has supported the fact that if you have diabetes, which of course, as you know, is coming from excess sugar, which comes from carbohydrates, which most have gluten in them, you're twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. Now, is that the extra sugar or is that the gluten? We don't know, but we do know that that trend is in fact actually present. So what we'd like to talk about next time is more of the nitty-gritty, the biomechanical or biochemical component of how all this happens if you're so interested. Because when you know, the more you know, the more your behavior is easier to change. So I'll look forward to speaking to you in the next section. Thank you.